Hey guys, welcome to Moving On TV. I've got a great guest on today. I'm very, very excited to introduce the father of tapping, EFT tapping, better known as Brad Yates, onto Moving On TV. This is a huge, exciting opportunity, and I can't wait to interview him. Brad Yates is the gentleman that on YouTube that you can see doing lots of different types of tapping. He does tapping for abundance, for health. He's doing tapping in the lockdown at the moment. And he basically introduces emotional freedom therapy to us in a very fun way, in an easy way that is basically accessible to everyone. So one of the messengers of light on the Holistic Show and the Messengers of Light, welcome to Moving On TV. How are you today, Brad Yates? Thank you. Hey, anyway, hi, Brad. It's really good to have you on Moving On TV. So how are you today?
I am excellent, thank you. How about you?
I'm great. As I say, the sun is shining in the UK, so it's a beautiful day. And it's lovely to start to see people coming back together, like my neighbors are sitting with their family, with their parents, and it's so lovely to be able to see that now. So where are you based in America?
I'm in Sacramento, California, capital of California, and it is very warm. It's only 9 o'clock here, and it's already 83 degrees. So
Wow.
We'll be in triple digits today. I don't remember how that translates to Celsius, but
very hot.
It's hot.
Okay, so as I say, you know, the programs that I do for Moving On TV, I like to delve a little bit deep to find out a little bit about the person behind the persona, so to speak. So can you just tell me a little bit about Brad, a little bit about you? But the most important thing I want to know is, how did this come to happen? How did you become, I'd say, the father of EFT, the fun dad of tapping? And so where did this all come from, Brad?
Yeah, well, just to get a disclaimer out there, far from the father of EFT. Roger Callahan came up with the tapping process called thought field therapy. Gary Craig worked with him and created emotional freedom tech, EFT. So I'm just one of the earlier people who took it on and was had the thought to put it on YouTube when YouTube was new, and so that's where I was able to create a bit of a name for myself. I only intended one video at first. I thought, hey, YouTube's cool. I should put a tapping video up there, something people could start their day, and I'll call it Tap of the Morning. And that was all I intended. And then
sounds Irish.
Yes. Six months later, I had another idea. I thought, well, I should have one to end the day, Tap of the Evening. And then ideas started coming, and now there's over 900 of them.
Wow.
So, but I had actually started out as an actor. I had gotten my degree in drama. I had traveled the world doing theater. I studied acting in London, and was doing that, traveling around, when I thought, it's time to go to Hollywood and be a movie star. So I went to LA, and while I was there, I met a woman, fell in love, got married. And when our first child was on the way, I thought, I should probably have a backup job. But instead of getting like a steady kind of paycheck thing, I trained to become a hypnotherapist, because I'd always been fascinated by the power of the mind. Started doing that. And over the next couple of years, I was building a small practice while still pursuing my acting career. And then our second child came along, and I thought, you know what? As much as I love acting, this personal development work is really what I love. This is what I feel called to do most. So we left LA, moved to Northern California, and through some other hypnotherapists, that's when I heard about EFT and tapping and energy psychology. And I went to a conference, took a training with Gary Craig, and just thought, wow, this is really cool. And
Mhm.
little by little started putting it into my hypnotherapy sessions until little by little they became tapping sessions with a little bit of hypnosis at the end.
Okay. Wow, that's really interesting because I'm an actress. I tour as Edith Piaf for Maria Callas and theatre.
Oh,
But my passion is similar to yours, is all this new consciousness and finding out more about people. And as we know, everything is stuck in the subconscious. Subconscious is about that, and that's our conscious.
yes.
And so I think what tapping does, it helps to bring everything to the surface. So can you tell us a little bit, what is EFT? Can you explain a little bit of emotional freedom technique? What is it?
Yeah. So emotional freedom techniques, also a lot of us just call it tapping, is literally a process of tapping with our fingertips on certain points on the face and body. And if anyone's watching this and they're new to this, I know it looks a little bit strange, but there is a reason why we do it. So originally, Roger Callahan developed it from acupuncture. So for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they have said there's a flow of energy through the body along these pathways called meridians. And when this energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being, physically and emotionally. And when this energy gets stuck, we don't feel so good. And when we don't feel good, we don't think as clearly, we don't make the best choices, and our choices create our lives. So our choices about our career, about our relationships, about our health, how we eat, things like that, we make those choices mostly at an emotional level. And you said the unconscious versus the little conscious.
Mm.
So, that's why consciously we say, I want to be healthy, I want to be wealthy, I want to be happy. But unconsciously, based on old programming, we're making choices that keep us safe, which may not always be happy, healthy, and wealthy, but it feels safe. And it's designed to keep us safe based on these old ideas. So when we're tapping, we're balancing out the energy system. We're dramatically lowering stress. It's the simplest, quickest form of stress relief that I know. It's all natural. And there is scientific evidence validating the tapping. We have studies with hormones. So in tapping, dramatically lowering cortisol, one of the stress hormones. There are fMRI studies now where we can see stress brain activity reducing with the tapping. So, while it looks a little strange and some people might think it's a little woo-woo, it actually is scientifically backed as a process for calming down the stress system. And that's what happens is when all those thoughts and beliefs in the subconscious mind that we're operating from come from early experiences.
Mm-hmm.
If we hear our parents say rich people are greedy, don't be a bad person, then we have this idea of I'm not going to be safe if I have more money. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm making those. But if I start to try to challenge that, if I start to say, no, I want to make more money, I have a stress response. When we start to
Mm-hmm.
try to mess with our unconscious mind, we have a stress response. So that's
Sure.
why the tapping allows us to shift down the stress and go, oh, this idea that money is the root of all evil, that's a mistranslation and it's not correct. And I can let that go, and I don't need to have that be an impediment.
Mm.
So we can do that with all of our beliefs about what a healthy relationship is, what a healthy weight is, how to take care of our bodies, how to take care of other people, how to relate to other people. We have all of these old beliefs about how we should be that we can start to shift and live in a much more harmonious and joyful way.
Okay, so going back a little bit, when you talk about belief systems and values, which ones did you have when you came into tapping? What did you bring from your background, from your childhood or your background that you were able to work through to help yourself?
Yeah. So one of the things that helped me get known on YouTube was I had always been an artist and an entertainer. So my tapping videos, there's some humor in them. So
Sorry, was there anything that you were in that we would know? You know, when
well, if you saw the film
you,
Chaplin, I have a
oh yeah.
tiny I have two tiny parts in Chaplin, as Mary Pickford's escort, and then as a friend of Charlie's later on. So I actually
Okay.
got my first line in a feature film as a favor from Sir Richard Attenborough.
Okay.
It may have been Lord Attenborough at that point. But and I'm not a doctor, but I did play one on TV on
Right.
Days
Okay.
of Our Lives.
All
Had a
right.
few little
These
things.
are the days of our lives. The days
Yeah,
of our lives. Yeah.
Days of Our Lives.
Used to watch that all the time until it got taken off. Can't anymore. Yeah.
Well, back in 1996, I helped save Sammy's life. So.
Oh wow. Okay. I think that rings a bell. Yeah, I used to be obsessed with it. Can't remember now. Anyway, coming back.
So I brought
Yeah.
that sense of entertainment and fun was something I valued. The interesting thing is a sense of service, and this was something that my wife really cultivated, because I'd been a relatively selfish actor. I think had been, I was raised with, a lot of great values about being kind to people, being courteous, being respectful, and but I think that in my actor phase, it was very much about, what's in it for me. And then I met my wife, who was running homeless shelters. It was very
Wow.
service oriented.
Fascinating.
And I had a project when I first started as a hypnotherapist. I was running at one of the programs, a transitional housing program she ran. She allowed me to come in and teach a self-esteem workshop there. So that was like the first thing of me reaching out and trying to be of service, which has then fueled all of, the 900 plus videos that are on YouTube.
Okay. I need to ask you a question, because I know people are going to be fascinated here. So you were an actor involved with Hollywood, and you know what the questions could be here. A person is spiritual and got a calling. Did you not find that difficult, being in such an environment? I mean, were you put into any situations that were not safe for you?
I wasn't. And I absolutely know that there's a dark side to so many different things. I still have friends in Hollywood who are wonderful people. So I know a lot of people will focus on the dark side of Hollywood, and there have, because in the film industry, there are people who are able to get into places of power. And if they are not healthy people, that power can be misused. There are also a lot of wonderful people who use their power that they get in Hollywood to do a lot of really good things.
It's good to hear that. It's good to hear that, because as I say, we have to look at both sides, don't we? And it's really interesting to have you here as someone that I can ask that question. So anyway, so you're saying your wife, who was running homeless shelters, got you really into all of this. So carry on. This is fascinating.
Well, so she showed me the value of being of service in a way that I really hadn't been before. So that combined with, as I was learning hypnotherapy and then EFT, and just wanting to share that to make the world a better place, as opposed to just, okay, what can I do to be successful and make a lot of money and do this, which, there was a certain amount of that when I was an actor. Was, I want to be a rich movie star.
You have to be grounded, don't you?
Pardon me?
You have to be grounded, and you do tapping for abundance, which is
I do. And that's the thing, is there's absolutely nothing wrong with wealth. It's an abundant world. And as we clear out, I'm going to encourage folks to actually be tapped.
okay.
So this is one of the key points, the collarbone point, where the collarbones just about come together. Because as I talk about this, some people will have certain beliefs and feelings coming up. So this is just one of the places you can tap.
You're going to get a lot of spiritual people that have that issue. Their job. I mean, I do my work, and I never have learned anything yet from this, but I absolutely adore it. I love it. So I probably have that issue. of
Yeah.
asking for money for doing what you love.
Right. The idea that money is not spiritual, but if you look at the world, if you look at the planet that God, Source, Spirit has created, it's pretty freaking abundant.
Yes. It's a bit like Neil Donald Walsh said in Conversations with God that there was a big cake, and it would have been nice if the cake had been divided equally, and then we could all have had some of it. But like you say, a lot of our belief systems are holding us back. So I think this would be a great opportunity for the kind of people that are going to watch this to
Right.
work with you, Brad. So
It's a huge cake. I think it's Bob Proctor talks about it as thinking of it like a pie or a pizza. And it's like, well, we take a bigger slice, then I'm taken away from someone else. And he says, no, just imagine a bigger pie.
okay, that sounds good. Yeah.
Because there is unlimited abundance.
Mm.
And that's why I'm saying tap, because I know this is going to challenge a lot of people.
Okay, great. Let's do it.
But, you know, the idea of having this giant cake, and if everyone got an equal slice, but people are taking a much smaller slice than they need to. And it doesn't, but then there are other people, because of their fears, the people who take a giant slice, that comes from fear as well. This sense of greed. Abundance and wealth are great. Greed is a deformed part of that, because it comes from a fear of, I need to be proving something to people. I need to have more than other people. You know, it's like, if I want to have a yacht, I can be okay with someone else having a yacht. It doesn't be, well, I have a yacht and you don't. That comes from a disconnection from source.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to feed something there. But to say, hey, it's an abundant world, and I really enjoy being on the water, and I choose to provide so much service that I earn so much money that I'm able to have a yacht. What's wrong with that? And people are building yachts. You're creating jobs. It's good to support the economy.
Well, money is a wonderful thing. It's like technology is a wonderful thing. It depends how you use it.
Well, the analogy I often use is, think of money as a brick. You know, so you can take a brick and you can build a hospital with bricks. You can also take a brick and use it to smash a window to steal things.
Right.
So if you saw somebody break a window with a brick, would you say, oh, bricks, they're so bad. Definitely don't want to have bricks. And I might need a few just to be able to, you know, build a small domicile for myself, but I shouldn't have too many bricks. And it's like, the more bricks you have, the more hospitals and churches or whatever you want to build. You can build all kinds of wonderful things with those tools. Money is just a tool. It's what's done with it. And that comes from people's fears and beliefs or their excitement. And so people have visions of, wow, what's possible? And, you know, so I just finished, just moments before I get on the call with you, I finished watching a biopic about Walt Disney and the things that he envisioned and was able to create. And, you know, so to allow ourselves, especially spiritual people, you're visionaries, we have ideas about how what the world could be and how wonderful it could be. And, you know, money definitely helps create things, to build spiritual centers, to get the message out to people. So
yes, exactly. So
there's nothing noble, you know, it's give yourself permission. I don't want to say there's nothing noble about it. I don't want to, you know, diss anyone, but consider the possibility that it's just as noble to allow yourself to have the abundance to make the difference, a bigger difference in the world.
Yes.
Than to shun money and to say that money is bad, because money's not bad.
That's right. And you give away a lot anyway. I mean, YouTube is packed full of you doing tapping, just giving and giving and giving to people. So, but it's interesting that you came from a background of being very grounded with money ideas anyway, as you were saying, as an actor. You met your wife, who gave you this opportunity to develop your spirituality. Let's go back to that a minute, to the hopelessness and your wife's work, and how did all of that come together with you, with what you were doing before?
Yeah. So let's see, when when I first met her, she was running a program for homeless parolees down in Los Angeles, right near an area known as Crack Corner. So really bad part of town. And, she's working with these guys, homeless guys coming out of jail for, you know, all kinds of crimes, including murder. So, and then transferred to become the director of a transitional housing program in Santa Monica. So, and then I started actually working there. But yeah, the first part of that was when I took on that assignment or created this self-esteem workshop, because here were these people living in this transitional housing program who had nothing and were trying to start again, and always felt that they had to be on the receiving end. They were dependent upon people donating to keep the shelter up. So the first project that we did is I took a group of these folks to a local senior citizen home to go around and just visit with these people who had no one coming to visit them. And so they got to just sit and talk to these people, and they got to give back. And that was one of the most exciting days for me, was to just be able to see these people who were always just looking to receive and having an opportunity to give, and just what a difference that made for them.
Mm. It's amazing.
And that's a big part of my work is what people can do for others. I've often said when I'm working with a group, I'm not here for you. For all of the people that you're going to touch that you're not reaching out to right now because you're stopping yourself.
Mm.
And just like everyone, all kinds of spiritual folks who say, well, I mustn't have money, I have to play small, I have to do this. There's so many people that you could reach as you let go of those fears.
Mm. Fantastic. So amazing. And the fact that you agreed and you got back to me straight away, it means so much, because we're such a small station, we're only starting out. And for you to get back to me with such respect, it really does show how special you are and what a kind man you are. So thank you so much for that.
Oh,
Really beautiful.
I'm very blessed to get to do what I do, and I want everyone to be able to benefit from this work. So if you had one viewer, that's one person that I might reach who otherwise might not know about EFT. So just to be able to share this work with more and more people. That's why I put it out on YouTube and have it, freely on YouTube, so that people can say, hey, check this out. And it's not, hey, you should check this out, but you're going to have to buy it, because especially with something that looks a little strange, people are going to say, yeah, I don't know. So trying to make it as easy as possible for it to reach as many people as possible.
I remember years ago, because I have a lot of history with mental health. I have a big story. I recovered in something called the therapeutic community, which we have in this country, with no medication. I don't believe in medication at all. And I remember before my recovery, I didn't know about tapping. And I remember sitting outside a petrol station. I was having a panic attack, and I was going, how to do this. And I thought, people are watching you, but whatever, help me get through this. And it does actually work. So why the particular tapping points? Because, we could kind of go through them, the middle of the eyebrows, the side of the underneath the eye. Why? What are these particular meridians? Why do they actually work? I mean, under the armpit, what's that all about? It's a bit like, why does that actually work? How does it work?
So these points were when Roger Callahan first developed his tapping process called thought-field therapy. He was the very first person he worked with, this woman called Mary, who had a lifelong phobia. And she was about 40 years old, had worked with different therapists throughout her life, and was working with Dr. Callahan, who is a licensed psychotherapist. And after, I think it was about a year and a half, she'd been working with him using traditional psychotherapy. And he could have her out on the patio near the swimming pool, but looking away from it. She couldn't actually look at the water. She could only bathe in an inch of water. Just all her life had this issue. And at this time, he was just expanding his horizons and was taking a course on acupressure and learning about these meridians. And at one point, he said to her, "So, what is the physical symptom that you experience with the water phobia?" She says, "Oh, well, I get this knot in my stomach." And he said, "Okay, so the end point for the stomach meridian is right here under the eye. Let's just see what would happen if we could do something about that knot in your stomach." He just tapped under her eye for a moment. And she said, "It's gone." And he said, "Well, what's gone?" She goes, "The fear." And she runs out the house to the swimming pool.
Oh my God.
And he's running after her saying, "Wait, stop." She goes, "It's okay. I know I don't know how to swim," but she got down by the water. He started splashing water in her face and said, "I feel fine."
Mhm.
So Dr. Callahan naturally thought, "Well, that's interesting." And started experimenting with different clients and using different acupuncture points that he had learned about in the course, found that with different emotional issues, he needed to tap in different sequences. So each of these points, so the these points associate with the bladder, the gallbladder, the stomach.
That's something to do with the third eye as well, because the third eye is around here.
There are people who tap that area.
Right.
The point that we tap in EFT is right here at the beginning of the eyebrow
Right.
on either side. And
Okay.
so it's and that's associated and these the organs the are traditionally associated with different organs of the body, which are often associated with different emotions. So bladder is often associated with sadness and trauma. The side of the eye, the gallbladder, is associated with anger and resentment. Under the eye, the stomach associated with fear, and so forth.
Oh.
So that's why he developed those points. Now, there are, you know, quite a few meridians run up and down the body. There are points all over the body. We use 8 specific points. There are people who use other points. A lot of people use wrist points. So the points that we use are right at the beginning of the eyebrow, the side of the eye, under the eye, right under the nose, just under the lower lip, just above the chin, right here where the collarbones come together, and you just make a fist and tap there. 4 inches below the armpit.
What is this for under the armpit?
So under the armpit is associated with low self-esteem.
Oh, okay.
And then finally the top of the head, and just we tap with all of the fingers around the crown of the head. And I can't remember the Chinese term, but it's like the meeting of 100 roads, because a lot of the meridians cross over there. So you're actually tapping on a number of meridians.
Okay. Wow. You know what? When I did come out of therapy, thank you for that. It's beautiful. I'm hoping that people will do that with us. When I came out of therapy after 18 months, and I was really panicking that I wasn't going to be able to stay calm and sane, you know, because I was in a 24-hour support system. I found something called the Healing Code by Alex Lloyd. Have you heard of that?
A little bit, and I know of Alex Lloyd. I haven't met him, but he was one of the he was doing EFT for a while.
There's similarities. There's similarities in the way that the healing code goes here, from this point. You've got the throat chakra. But one of the similarities I found was when you go into a more advanced healing code, is you are actually turning the crown, you're turning this part of the top of the head, and it does, and at the same time you're breathing out and doing this, and I could release energies that were blocked through doing that. So we're saying, you know, one of the things, I was talking to one of my healer friends, he does lots of modalities, is that they're all basically coming from the same energy. And everything is connected. Everything.
There is only one energy. Yes.
You know, yeah. And whether they work with you in one way or another, as long as they work, it doesn't really matter. The main thing is that they work.
To me, healing is like music. There are a lot of different genres of music. There are a lot of different instruments, and there are a lot of different people who play instruments differently. So I know that a lot of people get very religious about their healing modality and say it's the one and only thing that you should do. But that's like saying to someone who likes jazz, you really need to listen to country western. It's, you know, country western is the only real music. Jazz is not, you know. Or even if you're using a particular tool like EFT, and someone will say, oh, you're doing it wrong. That's like Eric Clapton saying to Keith Richards, you played the guitar wrong. No, because we're all going to respond in different ways. So I like to stick to tapping just because it works for me, and it for the way that I like to work, it simplifies it. But I know that there are many different healing techniques. There are a lot of different tapping modalities that use different points. And there is no wrong way. And some people will respond to one way better than other, just like some people like Eric Clapton more than they like Keith Richards. Some people like jazz more than they like country western. And so that's why it's wonderful that people have found, oh, here's another way of using the energy that is going to speak to some particular people. Just like people who are, you know, spiritual healers, you have a unique way that some people aren't going to heal in any other way. That's why it's important that you share your gift, because you're going to reach people in a way that some other people just can't reach them.
We're all unique. All unique. And this is why I love kinesiology as well, because kinesiology, muscle testing, can actually tell you what's good for you, what foods are good. But again, you can use all of this for tapping, can't you? Checking allergies and stuff like that. Can you tap around things like that?
Yeah, a lot of people have used tapping for allergies and shifting whatever might be going on at an unconscious level that is creating the system that has the allergic response.
Right. Okay. So absolutely incredible. As you said, everyone will choose something, but you can try different things, and they're all out there. I mean, I've experimented with loads of different things. Like, particularly, a lot of people go and have acupuncture. I hate needles. I don't like pain. So what's the point? Well, if you can actually do, you know what I mean. I hate pain, so why stick needles in myself? But this way, you can get a lot of great results without going. It's not painful. It's actually very gentle, and
yes,
and it does work. As I say, I've been through a lot of grief, a lot of abandonment. I grew up in Israel, and so I have a lot of PTSD around that. I'm actually I was born in Ireland and grew up in Israel, and I went there when I was 7. And with all this lockdown, when all of this started, my childhood was everywhere. It was everywhere because I was numbed, basically. I wasn't allowed to say anything or be myself from about the age of 7 till I left Israel. I knew it wasn't right for me. And everything, so I started tapping on it. And it just really made me feel. And because I'm not scared of my feelings, luckily, it was very, very painful, but it did come up to the surface, and I kept tapping. I did quite a lot of tapping with you on TV, bringing all of this stuff up. And one of the things I think a lot of people live with is a huge, intense sense of it's their fault. That I think children pick this up. They think everything is their fault. It's my fault. I'm to blame for everything. And if you're brought up with a parent that is very stressed out, then very irresponsibly, like mine did, they will make you feel responsible. And that was actually my biggest spiritual awakening, where I released this mental health issue, was me understanding that nothing was my fault. I was a child. So how can you use that? Because I believe that a lot of people that are developing, I'll do it in inverted commas, mental health issues, because a lot of them are not real, a lot of them are just labels, for people that are stressed, how can you help them to bring this out of them? How can you help them to understand it? Because how can you help them to bring in a self-awareness that it's okay to face your guilt, that you're not actually to blame? Because a lot of them won't even go there. They won't even go there.
Right. Because when we start to confront things like that, we have that stress response. Part of us says, it is not safe to go here. Back off. Because if as at an early age, I take on this belief that things are my fault, particularly if I have parents who say, yes, it's your fault. It would not have been a child to say, shut up, it's not my fault. That would have led to a lot of pain. If you hate pain, then you're going to, the emotional pain of believing it's my fault might feel more acceptable than the physical pain of getting a spanking or worse. So taking it my fault, yes, mommy, yes, daddy, it's my fault, I'm sorry, and then they calm down, I have now learned, oh, this is how I keep myself safe. So years later, at what point was I supposed to go, okay, yeah, when I was 5 years old, that made sense. But now that I'm 17, it doesn't make sense anymore. So now I'm no longer going to take it on as my fault. No, I'm still in that pattern of taking it on as my fault. And because it's not safe, I am not safe thinking otherwise, is according to my beliefs. So if I try to change that, I go into stress response. I go into fight or flight, and I back off and I go, okay, I'm just going to leave the operating system the way it is. Now, if we had something we could do to deal with stress,
Do this together.
that allows us to calm down and look at that and go, oh, you know what? That 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 wasn't my fault. That couldn't have been my fault. that issue with my parents, I know that was the case even before I was born. How could that possibly be my fault? So it gives us the chance to calm down. It's like having an argument or a conversation with anybody. It's with ourselves or with anybody else. If we can sedate ourselves, we can get a lot further in conversation, because two people, like about politics, you have two people coming at it, you're stupid, no, you're stupid, and there's no rational discussion there. We do that with ourselves. We get, part of us gets so upset and so scared that we go into fight or flight. The prefrontal cortex, our rational mind, goes offline, and we can't look at it in a rational way. So this thing about our childhood that we think is our fault, we can't get that in a rational way because of that stress response. So as we calm ourselves down, we can look at that and go, oh, that was a total misunderstanding. And it may have been something that our parents said, and they may have just, gotten bad news. They may have just found out that a loved one had died. They may have just lost their job and were so stressed out that they said something they didn't mean to us. But in our young mind, we go, well, there it is. That's how it is. And then because we're powerful creators, we create a life based on that belief. And as human beings, we'd often rather be right than happy. So we will go about and create circumstances that prove that we're right. If I have this belief that no one finds me of value, then I may do things and someone will say, well, that's not useful. And we'll go, I'm right. See, I knew I was right. And it seems like a little victory, but it really limits our lives.
Okay, so would you say that tapping is kind of like going into a gentle trance where the subconscious can then come up and show you the truth?
Well, there are people who have talked about it in that way. I don't know that it's, maybe a somewhat trance-like thing, but it serves a similar purpose to a trance, which is quieting what we call the critical mind. So, you talked about you have the subconscious mind and then a little bit of the conscious mind up here. In between that is the critical area. That's the area that allows information to come in or stops information from coming in. So both trance and tapping allow that to become more permeable, so that information can flow both ways.
Mm.
So that's why it allows the change to happen.
Great, because I think also one of the things is we're so busy all the time, and I know part of my recovery was just sit with it. We used to have a bell, a validation bell. I rang it all the time, and at some point they said enough. Sit with it. So, we find it very difficult to just sit, to just be. And I think the great thing about tapping is that even if you're a bit of a nervous, person and you can't sit for very long, you're actually moving a little bit.
And this is calming down that anxiety.
Yes.
This is calming down that response. Yeah, if we're sitting for too long, we can start to get uncomfortable because it creates space for ideas to come up that don't feel safe. And so part of this wants to shut us down or distract us. Like, oh, what else can I look at? What else can I be involved in? Something to run away from that discomfort, rather than going, okay, I'm just going to manage the discomfort. I'm going to clear the discomfort. I don't have to be uncomfortable about this. And that allows us to calm down. And so we can start to look at things that we would never have allowed ourselves to look at again. I think it would be ideal if all therapists had, while they're working with their clients and having them talk about things, hey, give them this to calm down the stress, and it creates safety.
It's interesting because I was just going to say, well, first of all, it's so simple. And people do have a mistrust of something being that simple, something so easy that you can do yourself. Most things these days, like, even if we look at the virus, is a lot of the time is common sense and healing yourself and eating properly and taking vitamins, things that you can do yourself. But a lot of people are stuck in this consciousness where they have to go out there and they have to find someone else to fix them and bring in all these different things. But you're giving them something that is so simple that why is it not being taught to kids at school, for example? Wouldn't that be great?
Well, there are a lot of people making efforts to that. I have a couple of children's books trying to teach tapping to kids. There are a number of people who have brought it into schools. My friend Dr. Peter Stapleton in Australia has a program called Tap in the Classroom, and the country of Slovenia actually paid for their teachers to go through that course.
Oh.
So there are places, but again, it's hard to break through bureaucracy, and there's a lot of bureaucracy around education, and it looks a little strange. So when someone comes, the majority, I don't say the majority, but there are a lot of people who are going to say, hey, my kid came home and said that you were making them tap on their face. What the heck is that? And will not be too happy about that. So, that's one of my hopes with having it on YouTube, is that it spreads more and more, and so people are more open to it. But there are a lot of people. I have had a lot of pushback from people saying that I look like an idiot and this is the stupidest thing ever, or it's against God, or all kinds of.
Against God?
Well, there are a lot of people who have very strong beliefs because it's not in the Bible. I have read a website where someone was saying, well, EFT is against God because it's not in the Bible. And I wanted to say, yet neither is the computer on which you have posted your website. So
that's extreme.
how do you work around that one? But and people aren't bad or stupid. They have their beliefs, and when their beliefs are threatened, the people who are most anti-tapping, from my standpoint, are the people who are most afraid of what it might mean, what it might do, whether it is goes against God, which it's like, well, God created the body with this energy system, so it's using that. And that's my take on it. And I understand that people will have different beliefs. It's a matter of what beliefs are working for you.
I find it very strange how people will put drugs and use huge amounts of medication and chemicals that make them sick in their body, and that is against nature and against God, destroying a beautiful body, you know, destroying a beautiful form. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Never knew about that one.
Yeah.
So again, just going back a little bit further, what was the main thing that you used tapping for that you feel really helped you in life, that maybe you carried with you from your child? Did you bring any of these beliefs and values from your childhood? What kind of childhood did you have? Is trying to get to. You know?
I had a very good middle class upbringing. I was very fortunate, much more fortunate than.
What
There
happened?
you go. You
I don't know.
muted me for a moment,
I don't know what happened.
even though you muted me.
Sorry, but I was trying to pin you. There we go. Okay, we're back.
Tell me about your story, mute. We've had enough of you. No, I was very blessed to have great parents, great siblings. So I was very fortunate in many ways. And one of the things is when I was about 15, I had taken an interest in parapsychology and was very interested in like Uri Geller and things like that. And my dad gave me the book Illusions by Richard Bach, which I just gave to a client yesterday. And that was, it's very much a law of attraction kind of book. And I didn't think about it a lot at that point, but that really was a turning point in a very subtle way. But I think a lot of what I do now is started at that point. And it's interesting because a number of the people from the film The Secret are friends of mine, like Joe Vitale and Bob Doyle and Mike Dooley. And we've all talked, it's like that book really started a lot of them on their path as well. So that,
His
you know,
pencil. Yeah, I remember that story. Sorry, where all he had was a pencil, and he started his gratitude journal because all he had was pencil. That yeah.
so yeah, so that really was a point. And then I didn't really come back to that until years later when I was doing hypnotherapy. I'd had a passing interest in hypnosis in high school, but didn't really do anything with it. So that it was, a seed that was planted and then came back a lot later. When I first, during the first workshop where I learned EFT, Gary gave everybody Hershey's Kisses and asked, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you want the chocolate? And I was a bit of a chocoholic at the time, and I was like 8 or a 9. And after just a few moments of tapping, I could not eat the chocolate. He said, take a
Wow.
nibble of it, and I could not eat it. I ate chocolate for 2 years after that. Now, don't worry, I recovered. I've gotten better. But but I can use tapping to, to clear out again. If it's like, if I want to take a break from sweets, I can do that. And they can be sitting around. So there's no willpower. I can just be sitting there and it doesn't look like food to me. So there's no compulsion to eat it. So having that was really in that workshop where I could see, okay, something profound just happened from tapping, where I noticed a very tangible shift. And it doesn't happen for everyone like that when they're first introduced to EFT. So it's a little bit more of a, well, you're gonna have to take it on a little bit of faith here. But most folks will find they at least relax a little bit as the stress gets calmed down, even if they don't notice a huge shift. Like, I desire chocolate, I can't eat chocolate.
Yeah, moderation. So, but also, and then another question I wanted to ask you, because I asked this of all these messengers of light, people that have got big dreams and helping humanity, is if you go even further back, did you have any spiritual experiences at all where you knew that you were going to do something a bit different? I know your heart was in acting, but as you go further back, to being really young, was there anything at all that you came across, or any kind of emotions or feelings, or any kind of experiences, spiritual experiences as a child?
No, and that's an interesting thing, Laurene, is that because I know a lot of from a lot of personal development teachers. They talk about some early catharsis. Even Gary Craig, who developed EFT, had a very huge spiritual awakening, kind of very similar to the one Eckhart Tolle had. And I was raised going to church, but I did not have any particular attachment. I am woefully devoid of of a spiritual epiphany. It's been more of a gradual thing. I've had moments later in life where I felt more of a connection, and I felt, okay, thank you, got it. um, but yeah, no, I didn't. I as a child, I was a cartoonist. I even my children's book I illustrated. So I always had an artistic side, but I couldn't say that it was a particularly spiritual side. And you know, anyone who finds that disappointing, just go ahead and tap on that disappointment, that hope that, oh yeah, I want Brad to have some great story about how he, was awake to the oneness of it all and always knew that somehow he would be a light worker. Maybe at some unconscious level, but I never had that kind of epiphany. And I'm totally cool with that, because for me, that gives hope to all those other folks out there who are feeling like, well, I'm always going to be spiritually detached because I never had that huge God moment. It's like, yeah, no, it doesn't have to be that, great and wonderful if you did, but it doesn't, we're all connected, whether we have that kind of huge epiphany or not, that we're all still connected, and we can all, pardon the pun, tap into that source.
Great. Okay, before we go, just a couple of things. As I say, a lot of the people that are going to watch this are amazing spiritual healers, and myself included. We don't seem to earn the money that we deserve. So I was thinking it would be good maybe to do some tapping around that.
I would love to. I was hoping, it's like, we haven't done any tapping yet. We got to do some tapping.
Yes, let's do.
And this is a great one to do, because there is this belief that money is not spiritual, and it holds you back, and it's well, we'll go through that in the tapping. So
it's not just that money isn't spiritual, it's that I think as well, like, as being an actor, being an actress, sometimes you love your craft so much, you just get out there and you do it, but you're not always, your brain is not always grounded or geared enough to understand how to make money from it. So that's something I find with myself and other amazing, talented light workers, friends that run centers. Yeah. And they can do so much. They're so talented, but the money doesn't come in. so something. What is behind all of that?
It's not that the money can't come in. It's that we're stopping it. Imagine you're out on the tarmac, and planes filled with money are coming, and we're going, nope, don't land here. Because we may have this belief that my austerity makes me more noble or more spiritual or something. We may not consciously believe it. It may not be that we're consciously saying, oh no, I refuse to be paid because I want to have this, this sort of aesthetic thing. But everybody close your eyes. Let's just go into this. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Just follow your breath through your body. Just allow yourself to be centered and grounded. And I want you to imagine yourself having a certain amount of money, more than what you allow. Allow yourself to imagine yourself having a certain level of financial abundance. Something that you sometimes might entertain the thought of, oh, hey, wouldn't it be great if? But then you quickly shut that down and say, no, I shouldn't have that. So imagine yourself having this money. Imagine yourself even monetizing your work, people paying for what you do, and say, it's okay for the money to come in.
It's okay for the money to come in.
And just let that rattle around inside and notice on a scale of 0 to 10 how true that is.
Ooh, that
If you are saying it's a 10, I'm going to say check again.
feels very low, actually, because of the lockdown as well, and everything that's coming up in our world. There seems to be a lot of resistance to money. Yeah.
And this is the thing, the extent to which we do not have, the extent to which we do not have what we say we want tends to be the extent to which we are resisting it. If you do not have the money that you want, it is because part of you is resisting it. So let's clear that, shall we?
Myself and all the others who have it.
And if you don't have a resistance to money and you're watching this, you can think of something else you might have a resistance to. It's all right.
Okay, thanks.
Even though part of me resists money,
Even the part of me that resists money,
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
Even though part of me really resists more money,
Even though a part of me really resists having more money,
I choose to love and honor myself anyway.
I choose to love and honor myself anyway.
Even though part of me is really resistant to money,
Even though a part of me is really resistant to money,
and I don't allow myself
and I don't allow myself
to find ways to allow more money.
to allow myself to find ways to allow more money,
I find more ways to block money
I found more ways to block money
and to get rid of it.
and to get rid of it.
Not because I'm bad or stupid,
Not because I'm bad or stupid,
but because I have old programming
because I have old programming
telling me that I should resist money.
telling me that I should resist money.
And even though I have this resistance to money,
And even though I have this resistance to money,
I choose to deeply and completely
I choose to deeply and completely
love, honor, and accept myself.
love, honor, and accept myself.
And maybe anyone else who taught me to resist money.
And maybe anyone else who taught me to resist money.
All this resistance to 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 money.
Part of me pushes it away.
Part of me pushes it away.
I say I'd like to have more.
I say I'd like to have more.
But if someone watched my behavior,
But if someone watched my behavior,
would they believe that I'm someone who wants money?
would they believe that I'm someone that wants money?
Or would they believe I'm someone who wants to get rid of it?
Or would they believe that I'm someone that wants to get rid of it?
Someone who wants to avoid it?
Someone that wants to avoid it.
If I'm always giving things away
I'm always giving things away,
and not allowing myself to be paid,
not allowing myself to be paid,
I'm really limiting my life.
I'm really limiting my life.
And even the Bible says,
And even the Bible says,
a man is worthy of his hire.
a man is worthy of his hire.
So if the Bible says it's okay to get paid,
So if the Bible says it's okay to be paid,
why am I resisting it?
why am I resisting it?
All this resistance to money.
All this resistance to money.
Maybe I believe the old saying,
Maybe I believe the old saying,
that money is the root of all evil.
and money is the root of all evil.
And that's why I should avoid it.
And that's why I should avoid it.
Except that's not what the quote actually says.
Except that's not what the quote actually says.
It says the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil.
It says the love of money is the root of all evil.
All kinds of evil.
All kinds of evil.
So it's not even all evil.
There's not even all evil.
People have totally messed that one up.
People have totally messed that one up.
It says don't be greedy.
It says don't be greedy.
People have misused the desire for money.
People have misused the desire for money.
It doesn't mean that a desire for money is wrong,
Doesn't mean the desire for money is wrong,
because there's a lot of good that I can do with money.
because there's a lot of good I can do with money.
My lack of money doesn't help anyone,
My lack of money doesn't help anyone.
and I choose to clear any belief
I choose to clear any belief.
that my lack of money makes me more spiritual,
My lack of money makes me more spiritual.
because spirit is extremely abundant.
The spirit is extremely abundant.
When I look at nature,
When I look at nature,
trees don't have just one or two leaves.
trees don't have just one or two leaves.
An ocean doesn't have just one or two drops of water.
An ocean doesn't only have one or two drops of water.
I can look at so many things in nature,
I can look at so many things in nature.
and it is so freaking abundant.
It's so freaking abundant.
Spirit is abundance.
Spirit is abundance.
So when I walk down the street
So when I walk down the street
and I see a tree,
and I see a tree,
I don't cover my eyes and say I should only see a few leaves.
I don't cover my eyes and say I should only see a few leaves.
Oh, that's too much abundance.
That's too much abundance.
But that tree is made up of energy,
That tree is made up of energy,
just like money.
just like money.
I don't have to block myself from it.
I don't have to block myself from it.
But just like I don't take down a branch and hit somebody with it,
Just I don't take a branch down and hit someone with it.
I can enjoy the abundance without misusing it.
I can enjoy the abundance without misusing it.
Same with money.
Same with money.
I'm clearing this resistance to money,
I'm clearing this resistance to money,
clearing this belief that I need to resist money,
clearing this belief that I need to resist money,
clearing this belief that I can't possibly make more money,
clearing this resistance that I can't possibly make money,
because I have gifts and talents to share,
because I have gifts and talents to share,
and those have value.
and those have value.
There are people out there
There are people out there
making a lot of money,
making a lot of money,
doing things less valuable than what I offer.
doing things less valuable than what I offer.
There's nothing wrong with me being paid.
There's nothing wrong with me being paid.
And there are a lot of ways I can earn money.
There's a lot of ways I can earn money.
I just have to allow myself to know that's okay.
I just have to allow myself to know that's okay.
I can think outside the box
I can think outside the box
and allow money to show up.
and allow money to show up.
It's okay for money to show up.
It's okay for money to show up.
All these reasons why I thought it was wrong
All these reasons why I thought it was wrong
are misunderstandings.
are misunderstandings.
And I'm giving myself permission to look at those
I've given myself permission to look at those
and reconsider them.
and reconsider them.
Is it wrong to have more money?
Is it wrong to have more money?
Who does that hurt?
Who does that hurt?
And if I want to be able to reach more people,
And if I want to be able to reach more people,
I can make more money on one side
I can make more money on one side,
so I can give more away on the other side.
I can give more away on the other side.
I'm allowing myself to be okay with having more money,
I'm allowing myself to be okay with having more money,
making peace with money in body, mind, and spirit.
making peace with money in mind, body, spirit.
And take a deep breath. And close your eyes and allow yourself to go inside again and think again about having that level of money, having more money. And say, it's okay to have this.
Okay to have this.
And hopefully that feels more true.
That was beautiful. I never thought about it. Where do you get your ideas from? I mean, they just come to you. Have you read about them? Like saying things like the ocean has so many waves and the trees have so many leaves. Do you make? Did you create all this yourself, or?
Well, as I think most spiritual practitioners will say, it comes through us, not from us.
Yeah.
So when I'm tapping, I'm just open. Now, obviously, I bring in certain ideas that I have learned from certain places, like understanding that the quote is not the root of that money is the root of all evil, that it's actually the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, which is a totally different statement. And so there are certain things that I bring in that I've read in books or heard in lectures or whatever it is, different things that I've learned, but a lot of it just comes through me. That's
Fabulous. So how do people get in touch with you, Brad?
the easiest way is I'm all over the internet. Go to Tap with Brad on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. On my website is tapwithbrad.com. Just make it simple. And as I said, there's over 900 videos on YouTube.
Wow.
And yeah,
for everything. There's a video for everything.
Whatever's bothering you, there's a tap for that.
This is amazing. Okay, just before we go, can you tell us a little bit about the photographs behind you?
Yes.
What they're famous actors? I thought I saw Deanna Durbin there somewhere.
No, not. I don't have Deanna Durbin. So
I'm going to.
The first one, the middle one, the first one, and then that's my Aunt Margaret Lindsay.
Right.
She was a movie star back in mainly the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Next to her is her good friend James Cagney.
Oh wow! Okay.
And then the next two are also my Aunt Margaret.
You come from a background of entertainers.
Yeah. And then another good friend of my aunt's, William Powell. And then Janet Gaynor, another close friend. And you can't see Dick Powell's over there. So these were all movie stars who were all friends of my aunt's. Yeah, so there was acting in my background when I got into it.
Yeah, because I kept watching them thinking, what's the connection between the tapping and all those actors in the background?
So those are just fun. In my aunt's house in Beverly Hills, she had all of these photos up, and photos from movies. Like the one down there is a picture of her with Tom Mix, who is one of the first big cowboy movie stars. So and then another one from an Ellery Queen movie. She starred in all the Ellery Queen movies back in the 40s.
Wow.
So I just always loved old movies. So that's the connection there. So I just have those up because I just love seeing them.
Well, it's wonderful. Thank you. Do you ever miss acting? Do you do amateur shows like your local amateur companies with?
I have written, directed, produced, and starred in over 900 of my own short films.
Oh, wow. Well, that's the way to do it. You see, that's why I've gone moving on TV, because when I did Edith Piaf, Love Conquers All, I was in Edinburgh and I sold out and I couldn't get on anywhere because I wasn't famous enough. So I thought, okay, then if you can't do it, you start your own. So you carry on doing it. And I'm in the process of, I've written a musical for mental health recovery called
Wow.
And I just got a little bit of a lottery grant, so it's not completely blocked about getting money. Thank God. Well, it's been an amazing pleasure to have you on here, Brad.
Likewise.
This is going to be exciting for a lot of people. Before we go, some people are living in a lot of fear because of what's going on. What kind of extra positive message can you give them about how you feel they can use this to ease their anxiety?
Yeah, well, it goes back to the Stoics, who would say that it's not what happens that causes us a problem, it's our thoughts about it. So when we change our mind, we can change how we respond to things. There are a lot of people who are going to thrive because of this. Not in a way of just taking advantage of it, but in a way of, okay, this has given me a chance to pause and get out of the rut that I've been in and look at, how do I want to do things differently? So I've been doing weekly live tappings on Facebook and YouTube to help folks deal with the anxiety. So using this tapping to calm our nerves down, calm down the fear, so that we can see, okay, what can I do from here? What do I want life to look like as we move out of this? Now that the world has forced us to stop and reconsider things, do I want to just get back to the way things were, or do I want to create something new? And taking this time to really calm that down. And to me, one of the most important things is teaching yourself to love yourself. So take this as an opportunity to clear out any old reasons why you couldn't or shouldn't love yourself, because those are all misunderstandings, because you are a magnificent child of the universe, worthy and deserving of love and respect. And give yourself permission to clear all the doubts about that so that you have a chance to even grow stronger during this time.
Thank you so much, Brad. That is absolutely beautiful. And what are the names of your children's books, by the way?
Actually, I was doing a video the other day, so I have them right here. The Wizard's Wish,
okay,
and A Garden of Emotions. And you can find links to those at tapwithbrad.com. They're also on Amazon.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to Moving On TV. I'm very grateful to be able to do the service to have you on here. It's been a pleasure. And yes, so keep in touch.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to share this work.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. And that was Brad Yates, who taught us some tapping today. And so, yes, really grateful to have this. Thank you. So there you go, guys. The beautiful Brad Yates. What a fantastic session. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you were able to tap. The tapping, as you say, this is the tapping, the side of the eyebrow. First of all, here by the top, then the side of the eyebrow, the side of the eye, underneath the nose, underneath the lips, the heart, you use fist, underneath the arm, and this is for self-esteem issues, I never knew that, and the head, just tap around the head, it's nice. And you can also do the this part of the hand, the palm, it's called the gamut point, and you say whatever you need to say, even though I feel like I'm scared of lockdown, if that's what you want to do. I deeply love and accept myself. Even though I'm scared of the virus, I deeply love and accept myself. And then you go around saying, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. But what is there to be scared about? I know the truth. I can do my research. There's amazing research out there. Lauren's putting it out and Moving On TV. I am so full of love, and life is so easy for me. You know, obviously it's not as simple as that, but you can go and Tap with Brad on YouTube. As he said, every day he does something on Facebook. What an extraordinary man, what a lovely man, what an extraordinary, fascinating life. I hope I gave you a bit of an insight into there. It was interesting talking about Hollywood and the good as well as the not so. The good is there as well. There's always some good in there. Anyway, if you want to come on to Moving On TV, please email me, movingontv1@gmail.com. If you want to sponsor us, because now I'm going out there and asking you, sponsor Moving On TV. We're looking for money, so I do this every single day. This is my job. I love you lots, and I hope you enjoy that. So take care, namaste, blessings, and keep tapping, guys. Keep tapping. Bye.